Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another edition of the Fightful Select 205 Live NXT UK recap show. I am, of course, Mr. Warren Hayes, and I'm going to be talking about, as per usual, the 3 best hours of WWE programming available out there to you, to me, to everyone who enjoys quality wrestling. Have some fun stuff to talk about. Some stuff that will, well, look, no spoilers. We're going to talk about it for a second here on Fightful Select. Hope you're enjoying everything that we've been pumping out recently. We can't talk about it enough. That retro review, AWA Super Clash 3, that Sean and I were able to manage and do together. That was something. You should go check it out if you haven't already. Your boy Steven Jensen, man, he covers so much stuff in the Weekender podcast. You need to take the time to go experience the Steven Jensen vision of things. And he does that every week. And of course, Sean does a bunch of stuff. You got Jimmy Van's Q&A, which is up as well. Guys, go check it out. Take the time to just go through everything that we have to offer here at Fightful Select. We do it all to thank you for all the for all of your support, your subscription. It helps out a great deal, and we're very, very fortunate that you guys have helped us. And Fightful just reached a 3-year anniversary. It's 3-year anniversary. 3 years sounds like a lot, but as far as the website goes, it doesn't. And it wouldn't have gotten to this point without a lot of effort being put in by a lot of people, past, present, and we only hope that things keep on the same trajectory as we keep going forward. I'll get the words out. We really do hope that things continue to improve and get better. And your support of Fightful Select only ensures that Fightful is going to be around for a while. Not much news coming out of NXT UK 205 Live this week. However, we can still talk up the Evolve show this weekend. Evolve, the 10th anniversary show, Evolve 131. It's going to be happening this Saturday. Yes, at the same time as the AEW show. I'm going to be covering that, by the way. Going to be joining Sean and Jeff at the end of Fight for the Fallen. To recap it, that should be fun. But once that show is over, I am hopping on to the network because I want to see this stacked card already. But they went and added Shotzi Blackheart versus Brandy Lauren, to the lineup, which is a good thing because there weren't many ladies on this card. And it was kind of weird that Shotzi wasn't on it, but they added her on. What a stacked card. One more time, just to refresh your memories. NXT Championship match, Adam Cole versus Akira Tozawa. Akira was a cornerstone of Evolve when he was there. WWN Champion, JD Drake versus Evolve Champion Austin Theory in a winner-take-all match. I cannot wait to see that. You got Eddie Kingston and Joe Gacy, the Evolve Tag Team Champions versus AR Fox and Leon Ruff. And of course, Matt Riddle versus Drew Gulak. Just pump that shit into my veins right now. Oh my God. That is going to be something special. Trust me, it will be. Well, I mean, trust me, it's not as if I had any insider information. But are you kidding me? Riddle and Gulak going at it? Come on. So that's pretty much it. So that's happening this Saturday. I'm really looking forward to it. What a busy weekend of wrestling we have ahead of ourselves. Jeez. Got the G1, have AEW, we have Evolve. Then there's the pay-per-view, then Sunday, right? Extreme Rules. Holy smokes. And then there's probably other stuff that I don't know about or that hasn't crossed my mind. That's happening as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff this weekend. It's going to be a big weekend for wrestling. But right now, we're going to focus on 205 Live to begin with. That started off with the Brian Kendrick versus Sunil Singh. There's a lot of dancing to start this one off. Not, a lot of showboating from the Singhs, and Brian Kendrick sort of, mocks them as well, their little Bollywood dance as well. Kendrick hits a back body drop and a drop kick, but Sumir, who of course accompanied his brother Sunil to the ring, distracts him, and Sunil tosses Kendrick into the steel stairs. They're back in the ring, and he covers Kendrick, but only gets two. Sunil slows stuff down quite a bit. Sumir, however, punches Kendrick during a ref distraction, which allows Sunil to get in control, and also allows Nigel McGuinness, I think it was Nigel. Was it Nigel or Aiden? I think it was Nigel, saying that Sumir, as he punched Brian Kendrick, he said that Sumir had delivered the Punjab. The Punjab. The Punjab. Get it? A jab. Punjab. Sunil goes up top, goes for a diving elbow, but Kendrick rolls out of the way. Kendrick comes back with some lariats and kicks, goes for sliced bread, but it's avoided. However, Kendrick reverses out of a suplex attempt and locks in the captain's hook for the win. But after the match, Sumir runs in to beat up on Brian Kendrick. But then, Brian Kendrick is not left alone. He is saved by his buddy Akira Tozawa. They're still maintaining that friendship, which is good. Continuity. I'm good with that. I have to go back. I'd probably have to go back and see some of the work from the Bollywood boys from back then, because I don't seem to remember, quite frankly, I don't seem to remember if the Bollywood boys were really good or not, because they are not tearing it up right now on 205 Live. I find their tag team matches to be very, very ordinary. And there's just a lot of grandstanding that happens in their matches. It slows stuff up terribly. And I don't think they should be having singles matches, because this was not a good showing by Sunil Singh. It was very, very bland. I get that the match existed to set up a little feud between Kendrick and Tozawa and the Singh brothers, but I'm not into this. I am not into the Singh brothers. They they're small enough to be on 205 Live, but you kind of get the impression that they don't work the cruiserweight style. That they're working a style that's a little bit above their weight. I don't know. Or, they're just working the heel thing so hard. But I don't know, dudes and dudettes. I'm not into this. Next, we have the first part of a three-part. The first part, yes, of a three-part in-depth interview with Humberto Carrillo, where he talks about his childhood, growing up watching wrestling in his home. I wish they'd drive home the fact that he's part of a legendary wrestling family, because it's not like Warren Hayes watching wrestling when he was a kid. No one cares about that. There's nothing. There's no story to watching wrestling with my family. But this guy does. It's not just sitting around watching wrestling and being like, oh, this is so cool. I want to do this one day. Like, he's part of a legacy. And I'm into this. I like these types of interviews quite a bit, but you can definitely tell here that WWE really wants Carrillo to get over. They are banking a lot on this kid becoming a top babyface for the division. And this is always the trick, right? You want to make your babyface as accessible as possible, friendly, outgoing. However, you also want to make sure that he's you also don't want to overdo it. That's my point. You also don't want to overdo it to the point where he's overly saturated and you're like, yes, we get it. I still think he's athletic and he has a natural charm about himself. I'm just afraid he's not going to get across with the audience. I feel there might just be a little disconnect there, but we'll give this a chance to grow. Jack Gallagher, the gentleman of 205 Live, faces off against Jabroni John, or whatever his name was. Let's call him Jabroni John. Jack immediately gets an arm lock in and he works some joints, shoulder blocks. He hammerlocks Jabroni John with his legs and extends the free arm over into a pin. That was pretty cool. John runs the ropes, shoulder blocks, but he gets shoulder blocked down by Jack Gallagher, who ties him up in a paradise lock within the ropes, and then does a hesitation drop kick to lock him out. Hello, Sanada. Gallagher hits a stalling vertical suplex, which is always cool. I'm a sucker for a good stalling vertical suplex. But then Mike Kanellis runs in over the barricade from the audience, saying that you ruined my life, Drake. I'm going to ruin your show. And he starts tossing shit around. He goes to commentary, and he grabs the show format and he tosses it into the air. Now, how the hell is Vic supposed to continue driving the show forward if he doesn't have his format anymore? That's very, very irresponsible, Mike Kanellis. You are indeed ruining Drake Maverick's show. He kicks over a chair. Oh! Not furniture expenses. I'm pretty sure that wasn't on the budget. Can ask Maverick about that. Drake comes out at the top of the ramp and he brings out officials. I like how the audience jumps in and says, they instantly start chanting, "Who's the daddy?" which I think is funny. Shane Helms is the official actually that escorts Kanellis out. Shout out Hurricane. And we go back into the ring and Gallagher hits a headbutt for the win. I like this little combination of storytelling within this showcase match. I felt it evened things out a little bit, perhaps even continuing this little semi-feud that Gallagher and Kanellis have. I'm okay with this. I liked it. Backstage, after the commercial, Drake Maverick and Mike Kanellis are standing next to each other, and Drake says that he admits that he's been scattered, with his running after the 24/7 title, his honeymoon, which we've all seen how that went really well. And he says, I've been ignoring everyone on the show. Like he admits that, but Kanellis blames Drake Maverick for all of his problems. Drake says he's going to have to find Kanellis. Kanellis can't believe it. And he says, well, you know what? Next week I have a match, and you're going to see how bad you're going to find me next week after I'm done ruining your show, Drake Maverick. We'll see what happens from that point on. Main event time, Lorcan and Oni Lorcan, not just Lorcan, Oni Lorcan versus Arya Daivari in an anything goes match. Oni goes straight for Daivari during as Daivari is coming down the ramp during his entrance. They hit the ring and the match starts. Oni smashes Arya against the stairs and then goes for a chair under the ring and goes for another chair and another chair. They get back in the ring and Orkin hits some running back elbows, but Daivari tosses him to the floor, rams his head into commentary table. A trash can is pulled out from under the ring. But Lorcan gut kicks Daivari and hits a suplex. But Lorcan gets whipped into the barricade. And then Daivari pulls out a ladder. Yes, and a chair. A chain, excuse me. He has a chain, not a chair, a chain. And he starts grinding the chain against Lorcan's face. Daivari sets up the ladder then in the corner in one of the against the turnbuckles. But he, instead of Lorcan, gets whipped into the nasty ladder. Oni then sets up the ladder against the post, and he hip tosses Daivari onto the ladder. He goes for the half and half suplex, but it's blocked and reversed into a DDT by Daivari, who covers Lorcan, but he kicks out at 2. Daivari then goes back to the chain, slams Lorcan face first into a turnbuckle with the chain wrapped around his face. He does that 3 times. He covers Oni, but again, only gets 2. Daivari throttles Lorcan against the chair, sits him down, and punches him. He trash talks him, punches him again, some more strikes. He runs the rope, but Oni Lorcan drop toe holds him against an upright chair. Ba-bang! Oni then follows up with some European uppercuts, blockbuster, running European uppercut, and a flipping tope to the floor. And the crowd is chanting for tables. And let me tell you guys, Oni Lorcan is more than happy to oblige. He brings a table in. Daivari super kicks him. Daivari then leaps off the apron. Lorcan rolls out to the outside. Daivari leaps off the apron to get to Lorcan, but Lorcan tosses the trash can at him as he's flying. And into the steps goes Daivari. And Lorcan just starts tossing chair after chair onto Daivari, and he takes those chairs, sets them up. 2 rows of 3 chairs. Do the math. That's 6 chairs out on the floor. What does Lorcan have in mind with this? Well, let me tell you. The time that it took Oni Lorcan to set up these chairs, Daivari was able to recuperate, and he fights Lorcan off. They battle near the steel chairs. Lorcan tries to powerbomb him off the apron onto the chairs, but Daivari blocks it. Instead, Lorcan gets back body dropped onto the chairs. Hell of a bump there by your boy Oni. Daivari is then back in the ring. He sets up a table in the ring and then the ladder as well. He climbs up the ladder and hits a big splash off of the ladder onto Lorcan, which was amazing. That was a beautiful splash. And he covers Lorcan, who kicks out at 2.9. Daivari then goes for a second table. He lays Oni Lorcan on top of it. Daivari, though, goes up top, but Oni crotches him. And he hits a big superplex right through the table. And Oni wins, pins your boy Daivari, and gets the win. This was fine. It's odd to say. You guys know me, at this point, I'm a big Oni Lorcan fan. I really, really like Oni Lorcan. The problem, I feel like this match was fine. Great action. It was solid. There was nothing goofy about this. The guys just went after each other. I feel though that it lacked a bit in intensity. Like this was supposed to be like a this was supposed to be like the blow off of a deeply heated rivalry between these two guys. I feel like they could have turned it up a notch a little more and really sink their teeth into it, especially for a character like Oney Lorcan. They're, as they call him, the Fury of 205 Live. Well, he should get into positions where he just turns it up and he gets really, really violent. And I thought this is what we were going to get. I mean, again, there were some great spots, great wrestling, but it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. And all the setups, like especially with the 6 chairs and the tables in the ring, and it really broke the flow of the match, because it took the guys really, really a substantial amount of time to get everything set up. And I get it. You want to set things up properly. You don't want anyone to get legit hurt. I get it. But man, I feel like this match didn't get the rhythm that it required, that we were expecting. Maybe we weren't quite there, but it was still fun. Don't get me wrong. And then we get a big recap of Drew Gulak and Tony Nese, how we got to this point here. Tony Nese winning the title at WrestleMania off of Buddy Murphy, and Drew Gulak winning the title at what was the last pay-per-view? I can't remember. Stomping Grounds. There you go. Drew Gulak and Tony Nese are going to be fighting for the Cruiserweight Championship this weekend at Extreme Rules. And if you want to know what your boy Warren Hayes' prediction is, Drew Gulak retains. They're clearly pushing him, and they don't hot potato the Cruiserweight title. They just don't. So I don't see why they'd start now. I don't think it would be a good idea to put it back on Tony Nese immediately. Gulak needs the Buddy Murphy run with the title. That's what he needs. Let's move on to NXT television, which starts off with Io Shirai debuting her new heel persona, new heel look. She's all in black. New entrance. She's got it all. It's all gloomy and dark and very ominous. New music. I dig it. I think it's good. I think it's great, actually. She wants to cut a promo, but Full Sail is giving her hell. Understandably so. And she says, I don't need any friends. I don't need any of you. She drops the mic and she walks off. Mission accomplished. She looked nasty. She looked like a badass. That's all she needed to do. Good on her. Congratulations, Io Shirai. No, but seriously, it was the best. That was just perfect. It was perfect. In and out. You get the persona down. Didn't need any more, or to get into some deep explanations. And sometimes we don't need deep explanations. We don't need to understand everything. We don't need to have detailed motivations for everything. Like, sometimes it's okay to just be like, well, they're doing this because they feel like it. We didn't need the midichlorians to explain the Force to us. We didn't need that. I don't know anyone who requested an explanation as to why the Force is what it is, and then someone saying, well, the Force is because the Force exists because of microbacteria in humans' body and people's bloodstream. That's stupid. Io Shirai came out and said, I don't need friends. I don't need you people. All I was missing really was a fuck off. And then that would have been great. But we didn't get that. That's all right. That's okay. I'm completely okay with this. Next, we have a quick press conference with Velveteen Dream. He says he hears the murmurs, his words, and he goes for the questions. Yeah, and he asks one guy in the audience says, who will be your next challenger, Dream? And Dream says, I did not approve the question. And then all the journalists are off screen, right? And then he turns yeah, yes, your question to another journalist, and it's Kathy. Kathy, what's her name? I can't forget her last name. And he gets a big grin on his face, and he takes his glasses off because he's really happy. I thought that was a nice touch. And she asks him about Roderick Strong, and he says, Roderick Strong isn't ready to experience the dream one-on-one. Guess where we're heading to take over Toronto? We're heading with the Dream against Roderick Strong for the NA title, and I like it. I'm very, very comfortable with that. That'll be a good show. Next showcase match for Damian Priest versus Blanco Loco. And the former Punishment Martinez hits a big kick to the face, flying elbow. He hits a huge Falcon Arrow on Loco. Priest goes for a running clothesline, and he hits it on Loco, who's sort of, it's like he started to sell the move before the move actually connected. He sort of turned his body, and he sort of half took it. So Priest just picks him up, tosses him into the ropes. He does it again, and he made damn sure that Loco felt at that time so he could sell it. And then Priest hits a Cyclone King and kick, and the Reckoning to win the match. Not much of a surprise there. Next, we have Killian Dane again with another promo, but this time talking a little more about his motivations. Why is he an angry man? What's going to be his motivations? So he's basically saying, he talks about his house being set on fire. He's from Belfast, right? Or Belfast, Ireland, which is not an easy corner of the world to live in. He talks about his house being set on fire, about the gangs, about the tanks, about living under martial law, how a car bomb exploding near his house in his neighborhood made him deaf in one ear, and how he's the only surviving male member of his high school class. I didn't have time to check that out, to do any research before popping on here. But if that's true, that is the saddest, most distressing shit. My God. And basically, he says he's a man that's had everything taken away from him. And he's ready to deliver punishment, isn't he? Because he's a wrestler. I mean, look, again, I get what they're doing. I want to give him motivation. But just like I said with Io Shirai, you don't have to overthink stuff. You can just go right ahead. And especially, the NXT audience is fully aware of who Killian Dane is. We all remember Sanity very fondly. Killian Dane even had a bit of a singles run. He was in the North American, wasn't he? In the North American title ladder match, right? Was Adam Cole, Ricochet, EC3, Lars Sullivan. I'm pretty sure Killian Dane was in there as well. I mean, Dane is great. He's fantastic. I couldn't be happier that he's back in NXT. That's kind of where he belongs. So you really don't have to overthink it and give him this very dark motivation. You don't have to sell us on Killian Dane. Once he pops back up on TV, everyone is going to be excited. Next, we have the next match in the breakout tournament. We have Boa, Chinese signing, versus the former ACH, Jordan Miles. What an absolutely average name. Anyway, so this one takes off. Uh, and I was looking at just as the guys hit the ring. I should just preface this. As they get into the ring, I look at Boa and Miles, and I'm like, Boa is so tall. My God, look at how huge this guy is. When I check out the stats, he's 6'4". Doesn't make him a small man, but I'm like, okay, so ACH is he's kind of short, and ACH is 5'9". So I mean, so that it sort of took a bit of the mystique away. But at the same time, you know, jeez, the guy was huge. The guy he looked so huge next to Miles. I should stop calling him ACH. I have to stop that. But I was really glad to see Miles back wrestling. It had been a while. He hits he avoids, a big roundhouse kick from Boa, but Boa gets on top of him and he keeps him grounded. It's going to be a lot of that during this match here. Miles gets a double wrist lock in, but Boa reverses it. And Miles hits a springboard arm drag and then another arm drag off the ropes, does a cartwheel, a backflip, and drop kicks Boa. Double leg takedown on Boa, and a series of offense and roll-ups occurs, with Miles ending up rolling Boa up, but Boa kicks out at 2. And then Boa connects with his roundhouse kick, and Miles just drops. And Boa is going to be in control thanks to this move for most of the match. He ties Miles up in the ropes, hits a kick and an axe kick. That was some nice striking right there. He locks Miles in with a standing arm triangle. Knee strikes to the corner. A kick is blocked. And Miles tries to take Boa down, but instead Boa kicks him right into the corner, hits a butterfly suplex, covers Miles, but only gets 2. Boa grinds in another headlock, taking the action back to the mat, slowing it down. He tries to go for an armbar, but Miles gets him on his shoulders in a pin attempt, basically. But that's all broken up at 2. Some big kicks by Boa follow. Boa has another kick blocked by Miles, who lights him up with a series of lightning fast kicks of his own, pushing the big Chinese guy into the corner. Forearms follow a leg sweep and a basement drop kick by Miles. He hits the rolling lariat, which is called the Destructo Disc. He goes up to the top rope, hits a 450 splash for the win. And Jordan Miles advances in the breakout tournament. Of course, if you ask me, this is the right man won. This is what had to happen. Right now, as you know, I've been telling. I've told you guys. I've told you guys this for the past couple of weeks. I've told you guys this for the past couple of weeks. I like the idea of the tournament, the breakout tournament, discovering new stars, building new faces. That's part of what NXT is, and you couldn't be doing it with a better set of people right here. But this was clearly the most underwhelming match of the tournament so far. Of course, we've only had 3. This being the 3rd one, but it's really the one that didn't shine as brightly as the 2 others. So hopefully next week when we get Dexter Lumis versus Bronson Reed, all these names. Dexter Lumis was the former Samuel Shaw from TNA, and Bronson Reed, the former Jonah Rock. I don't know why they just didn't keep Jonah Rock. I mean, throughout it all. Look, there's 2 names here 3 people. And I really don't understand why they changed the names. Shane Strickland, right? Because he was already a name. His name already carried weight. So that was one thing. I really felt they should have kept it. ACH, again. I mean, ACH, he wrestled in New Japan. Didn't he wrestle in Ring of Honor? Look, again, a guy that had name value. Same thing with Jonah Rock. And Jonah Rock, it flows off the tongue. Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed. See, sounds like a goon from a blaxploitation film of the 70s. Bronson Reed. Like a nasty cop, a corrupt cop. Bronson Reed. We have Shayna Baszler backstage being interviewed, saying that she isn't impressed. She isn't impressed about Mia Yim's story about coming from nothing, raising yourself up from nothing, she says, because, it's a good story, but I'm not impressed by it because in fighting, everyone has that story. Oh, if I didn't have this, I'd be in jail or something like that. And I like that. It's so condescending. It's so perfectly Shayna. It's condescending and nasty and heartless. I dug it. It's like, yeah, good for you, Mia, but that doesn't make you special. Not around here. Maybe maybe in graphic design school that would make you unique, but not in fighting. Shout out to all my graphic designer friends. Trevor Lee, not Trevor Lee, Keith Lee. Trevor Lee doesn't. There's another name. Anyway, Keith Lee says his first year in NXT didn't go quite as he wanted, but year 2 will require some changes because he wants to be the top guy. He wants to be the king of the hill. So he doesn't have to be he cannot be just limitless anymore. He has to be infinite. See, one made sense and the other doesn't. Being limitless actually makes sense. What does it mean to be infinite? Oh, well. Oh, well. Fun words. William Regal has an announcement for us next week. People from all over WWE want to fight Kushida, right? We had Drew Gulak from 205 Live. We had Tyler Breeze. Who else? Cassius Ohno from NXT UK, excuse me. So now next week we're going to be getting SmackDown Live superstar Apollo Crews. That's actually cool. I'm looking forward to it. That'll be fun. Main event time, ladies and gentlemen. Street Profits, your NXT Tag Team Champions, defending and successfully defended against Oney Lorcan and Daniel Burch. Danny, I just call him Daniel because I don't know him personally. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm authorized to call him Danny. Perhaps you've noticed a couple of times there's a bird making sounds in here at Warren Hayes headquarters. It's a friendly bird. It's a good bird, but the bird's not going to hang around the next time I record this show. I'm gonna go put him in another room. It's a good bird, though. Friendly bird. So the Street Profits and Lorcan and Burch, they shake hands to begin sportsmanship. Lorcan and Ford start this one off. Ford rolls out of an arm lock and locks in one of his own on Lorcan. The Street Profits hit some double team offense as Lorcan gets shoved into a Dawkins shoulder block. Dawkins covers Lorcan, but he doesn't even get one. Why doesn't he not even get one? Because Oney rules. That's why. Thank you for asking. Lorcan locks Dawkins into an arm lock because that you lock someone into an arm lock. See, that's how it goes. He gets into his corner, and then Burch grinds him into a standing headlock. Dawkins runs the ropes, and it ends with a double team flapjack. Oney runs in, and he eats the double team flapjack as well, except he lands directly on his partner, Daniel Burch. Dawkins sets up 1 and 2 on top of each other across the ropes. The rope hung, and Ford jumps over Dawkins with a bonsai drop on both Lorcan and Burch. Lorcan and Burch head to the outside of the ring to regroup, rethink their strategy. Burch gets back into the ring and Dawkins extends a hand. It's like sportsmanship. Let's keep this going, sportsmanship. And Lorcan shakes the hand, but he suckers him into a European uppercut. Ha ha! And he hits a drop kick, and Dawkins is your babyface in peril for the rest of this match here. And 1 and 2 are starting to play the heels here. Double Russian leg sweep by Lorcan and Birch. Covers Dawkins, who kicks out at 1. Lorcan and Birch are go in hard with the double teams. Double team suplex. Birch gets a crossface on Dawkins, and Ford has to kick Birch to break it up. Birch doesn't like it, so he goes full mount, ground and pound on Dawkins. Danny Birch goes for a move off the top rope, but Dawkins rolls out of the way and gets the hot tag over to Montez Ford, who comes in clotheslining down Lorcan and Birch. Hits a big-ass spine buster on Lorcan. Shooting star press on Birch. Covers him, but only gets 2. There's some corkscrew splashes by the Street Profits into the corner. An assistant is Shirayuni, and they cover Birch, but only gets 2. But then Lorcan and Birch start getting back in control. Things break down for the Street Profits. Basically, Birch gets the upper hand here. Lorcan gets in with a half and half on Ford. Birch, the legal man, covers Ford, but again only gets 2. Danny Birch German suplexes Montez Ford, but Ford tags out to Dawson, who comes in with a running European uppercut. Who comes in. But Lorcan, hits a running European uppercut on Dawkins. The drop kick by Ford, then on Oni. A headbutt by Oni on, let's start this over. There's a running European uppercut by Lorcan on Angelo Dawkins. There's a drop kick by Ford on Oni. There's a headbutt by Birch on Ford. There's a spear by Dawkins on Birch, and everyone is on the mat. I like these little segments here. We're even sort of like just like this chain of instant offense popping in. I don't know. There's things in wrestling you're just a sucker for. This is one of the things I'm a sucker for. Lorcan starts laying the chops on Montez Ford. Ford goes for a Tope con Hilo on the outside, but boy, oh boy, did he hit nothing. I don't know what Danny Birch was doing, but Birch extended his arms. He couldn't catch him for shit. Ford landed hard. Oni goes for the spinning dive to the outside, but he eats a forearm instead. And then the Street Profits get Danny Birch into the ring and hit the spine buster frog splash combination for the win. So the Street Profits, no big surprise, retain their titles, defend them successfully. But then the show comes to an end with Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish coming out applauding. That's good. That's good stuff. That is good stuff. I like that. I'm looking forward to Street Profits versus the Undisputed Era. I definitely see TakeOver Toronto. I definitely see TakeOver Toronto becoming the place where the Undisputed Era get all the gold, all of it, for sure. This was an okay episode of NXT UK. Of NXT, not NXT UK. We're going to talk about NXT. An episode of NXT. The tag team match was a lot of fun. It was a good time, but otherwise pretty lackluster as far as wrestling goes. But if you will, Io Shirai debuted as a meanie. That's something. So go check it out. Go check out the match. Go check out that stuff. Let's move on to NXT UK, which starts off on a very solemn note because Tyler Bate he got the tar beat out of him last week by the Imperium as Trent Seven was tied up with handcuffs around the post, the turnbuckle post, and had to watch Walter beat the tar out of his little buddy. So it starts off in a very serious tone, but that serious tone goes away very quickly as Ilya Dragunov took on Ashton Smith. Ashton, we're inching ever so closer to the first year of operation for NXT UK. We're getting very, very close. And last August, September, when NXT UK debuted, Ashton Smith he was kind of hot. They were giving him a lot of leg room. But since then, they've cooled him down substantially, and you kind of have to wonder why. He's a talented guy. He's got charisma. He has the audience behind him. It's interesting. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not I don't know. I have no explanation as to why that's happening. But it's still it's still worth just pointing out. But anyway, he's being fed to Dragunov tonight. They lock up. Smith throws a right, but Dragunov strikes until Smith pushes him down with a shoulder tackle. Dragunov runs and hits a running cross body plus a cover on Smith, but only gets 2. There's some chops and a senton that follows. Smith gets back in control, and Dragunov starts attacking Dragunov's leg. Dragunov starts striking back on his own, not being okay with being caught in a leg lock. He fights out of it, and he hits a Gotch-style power bomb on Smith. He hits some strikes and a knee. Smith fights back and hits a fisherman's buster, covers Dragunov, who kicks out at 1. Smith keeps striking as best he can, but Dragunov hits the Constantine special and the Moscow torpedo to finish him off. This was probably Dragunov's most fun match since being in NXT UK. Wasn't much, wasn't like blow away, like, yeah, check this out. But as opposed to the other matches that he got, which were essentially squashes, this one was a bit more competitive. This was fun. And I think it's good. I think it's good to introduce, because everyone keeps like, look how intense, how crazy this guy is. He's always go, go, go. Well, it's good to see him in a context where he's up against a credible threat. That's not necessarily a jobber. To see him go like that, that was fine. This was a fun match. Zaya Brookside has an interview, and she says, she's used to overcoming adversity, and she feels her problem in NXT right now is Ginny, and she's going to fight Ginny next week. Ha! Poor Zaya here. Poor Zaya, who's basically reciting her script from memory, without really putting in anything really into it. She's just like, her eyes are big and they're focused. You can tell like she's just, yes, Rotzi, I would like you to know that I am used to overcoming adversity. And one of the problems that I have here to help me overcome my adversity is Ginny. There's sometimes, not everyone is really, really comfortable being fed lines, and maybe, look, I've never seen Zaya Brookside freestyle, so I don't know how she is really on promos, but whatever they're scripting for doesn't feel natural. It's not coming across as natural. They clearly want her to be a wide-eyed baby face, and I get that, and that's fine, but it's not coming across very naturally right now. So they're going to have to tweak it to make her character more compelling. Nina Samuels is having a bad time at the Download Festival. She's outside with the microphone to talk to people, and she just looks downtrodden, walking around with her gumboots in the mud. They keep talking about the mud at the Download Festival. Doesn't sound like a fun place to hang out. Oh, there's mud everywhere. Aiden English mentioned that a couple of times during the main event. Said that the Hunt like to roll around in the mud. Oh, there's plenty of that here. I bet everyone is like, bring us back to Royal Albert Hall, please, please. NXT Women's Champion Toni Storm took on Candy Floss. They shake hands to begin with. Sportsmanship. They lock up. Floss works Toni into locks, but Toni is countering everything that she pulls out. They work from the ground back up to their feet, but then Toni grounds things again. And then Floss counters into a head scissors that Toni slides out of. And Tony's like, yeah, no, not bad. So they shake hands again. More sportsmanship. Candy Floss does the spot where she runs the ropes, and she does the spot where she stops her momentum and then just drops on her stomach and smiles at her opponent, goes like this. So then Toni Storm jumps over her, drops down, and does one of these as well. But Floss then goes for an arm bar, and Toni quickly fights out of it. She's like, okay, this is what you want to do. And Candy Floss is like, yeah, I'm here to win. More grounded action follows. Floss cradles Storm for one. There's another lockup, and Toni counters out of it and falls with some strikes, covers her, but only gets two. The pace of this match is not exciting. It's not... it's pretty drawn out. It's not super good. The crowd is chanting for tables. You know, the usual British crowd that chants all sorts of nonsense and songs and stuff like that. Now they want tables here. They're having trouble amusing themselves here. Toni lays in some European uppercuts, covers Floss for two. Floss gets a backslide for two. Then she starts working Toni's arms. She stomps away on Toni, who falls, and then she falls with some more strikes, but Toni hits a kick, covers Floss for two. Floss rolls her up again for two. Floss follows with some strikes. Toni hits a lariat for two. Storm Zero finishes Floss. This wasn't good. It just wasn't. You know, with the pace that they were running, because it was very, very slow and very methodical. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of countering in and out, a lot of groundwork, a lot of moving in and out of each other's moves. I was like, okay, so they're going to give us like a 12 to 15 minute match here. They're clearly taking their time to build to something. But no, it turns out it was just a very slow, very plodding match that really didn't build to anything. It was, had they had another 10 minutes to crescendo to something, then this whole first 6 minute segment would have been like, okay, yeah, they really took their time to establish some stuff. Because the story they were trying to tell ultimately was that Candy Floss was impressing Toni Storm, and Toni Storm was like, oh, I shouldn't take this girl too lightly. That was the story they were trying to tell, but ultimately just ended up being not that. Just being kind of a dud. Not that they didn't do well in the ring. Everything was fine. Everything was solid. The two ladies who can wrestle, you know, I take a step back and I'm like, well, you know, Candy Floss, she knows her way around a ring. She's not just a gimmick. It works well. She works well. But it was just so flat. It just didn't build to anything. There was no momentum to it. Yeah, it felt a little scattered. Didn't care for it. But after the match, though, Candy Floss is heading back after eating the Storm Zero, and Kaylee Ray nails her. And then she starts staring Toni Storm down. And then Storm chases her as Kaylee Ray beats up on Floss some more. Because Toni Storm is a locker room hero, a locker room leader for the NXT UK women. So she's doesn't want none of this Kylie Ray nonsense. Man, I really hope that they're saving Kylie Ray versus Toni Storm for Cardiff, TakeOver Cardiff. Because that has the potential to be an excellent match, because Kaylee Ray is fantastic. And she hasn't been given the room to shine on NXT UK television. as she has in her usual career, I guess. They call her the female Sabu and stuff like that. Well, she hasn't done anything of that. She says, oh, she's such a threat. Why is she a threat to Toni Storm? We don't know yet. If you followed Kaylee Ray's career, you'll know. Anyway, let's move on. We have Trent Seven who comes, gives us a promo saying, I'm all alone tonight because Tyler's hospitalized, and well, Pete's got his hands full, and we can't call on him whenever we please either. He's not like we have to fight our own battles kind of thing. But he wants to remind everyone that NXT was built on British strong style. Imperium says the mat is sacred, but this is our mat. And he says that he's going to cut off the head of the snake. He's coming for Walter. You know what? It's going to be fun. Two guys with very similar styles that are going to lay into each other. Trent Seven's not afraid to lay it on, and he's not afraid to get it laid on him. It'll be a good physical match. I'm looking forward to it. That'll be fun. And next week we're getting Mark Andrews facing Cassius Ohno. That also should be a hoot. Main event time. Dave Mastiff and the Hunt versus the Gallus Boys, the Coffee Bros, and Wolfgang. Let me tell you guys, gals, there's a lot of beard in this match. Pound for pound, I think this match has the most beard of any other WWE match in history. There is so much facial hair. They all brawl at the bell. The Gallus Boys get dumped out to the floor, and the faces stand tall in the ring. Mark comes in, Mark Coffey. I'm gonna have to call him Mark and Joe here, so bear with me. Mark comes in, and Wild Boar works him over with some strikes. Double team Senton with Primate, who covers Mark Coffey, but only gets 2. He avalanches Mark, but Mark takes him down and tags in Wolfgang, who whips Primate into the buckles. Then Joe Coffey comes in and grounds the action. Then eventually Mark comes back in. Primate avoids a suplex and clotheslines him down and tags Boar in. Comes in and hits a senton. Spears Mark into the corner. Mark fights back with a choke slam, though, and he tags Wolfgang in, who runs in with a flying senton, and he covers Wild Boar, but only gets 2. Joe's back in, and he works Boar over in the corner. Some strikes. Joe hits a spine buster for 2. Then he gets a bear hug. I hate bear hugs. But at least here, Boar fights out of it. Like he rakes the face and he goes out. He just let himself be flailed around. At least he goes for the face. At least he fights out of it like a proper human being would. He gets taken down by Joe Coffey, though, and there's a lot of fast tags then between the Gallus Boys. Boar runs the ropes, goes for a body press, but he's caught by Joe and into a power slam, covered, but he kicks out at 2, and we go into another bear hug, which just blows my mind. But Boar again rakes the eyes, and boy, does he ever go for the eyes. He's like horror movie, I'll push your eyeballs in, going for it. Boar rakes the eyes, hits a headbutt, but Joe flapjacks him. Joe cheap shots Primate off the apron. Boar hits a jawbreaker, but Mark runs in. But that doesn't keep Boar from hitting a suplex and getting the hot tag to Dave Mastiff. It's a back body drop. Belly to belly on Wolfgang. Joe gets punched. Mastiff is running wild. German suplex on Mark. He covers him, but only gets 2. Mark fights back. Gets Joe in he tags him in. But Mastiff has him eat a pump handle suplex. He covers him, but Wolfgang makes the save. Mastiff fights off all of Gallus. He hits a Finley roll onto Wolfgang with Mark on his shoulders. That was nice shit, pal. Joe blocks a German suplex and hits a spinning power slam instead. Belly to belly on Primate. Joe spears Boar, but Mastiff knocks him down. Mark runs into a Mastiff German suplex. Joe eats a suplex himself, and the Coffee Bros are piled on each other in the corner, which then inspires, I should say, Dave Mastiff to do the running cannonball onto Mark, though, because Joe moves out of the way, doesn't move his brother out of the way. What a bastard. The Hunt then follow up with with suicide dives sent on by Mastiff on Joe. Primate comes in with a flying headbutt, covers him, but he's not the legal man. Wolfgang takes him out, and Joe Coffey hits the pop-up lariat, and all the best for the Bells by Joe on the Boar to finish the match. Gallus boys won. This was a fun big man tag team match, and just guys who go all in, great brawlers all around. I love Mike Hitchman, the Wild Boar. Primate is fun too. They're explosive guys. Compliment Dave Mastiff quite a bit. Mastiff was used very, very intelligently in the match here, coming in with trying to make the big save. I'm okay with these guys fighting each other again. This was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. You should check it out. It was an okay episode of NXT UK. Nothing to write home about, but because there were basically showcase matches all around. But the main event was a lot of fun. You should check it out. You should check out also everything that's available here on Fightful Select. I've told you at the start of the show. I'm going to tell you again until you do it, folks. Just listen to me for once in your life. Go check out all the content here on Fightful Select. And I want to thank everyone once again for your support. Thank you very much for watching or listening to me. And we'll see you next week, guys. Thank you all for popping in. I'll see you next time.